What happened to zombies? That's a question the zombies community has been asking itself for the past 12 months. Ever since the release of Black Ops 4, zombies hasn't felt like zombies. It seems like it's gone down in quality instead of up. It seems to have died a death, and Black Ops 4 seemed to be the final nail in the coffin for the game mode. But zombies wasn't always like this. In order to show you what I mean, we have to go back to where it all began. World at War. World at War Zombies was never meant to be a standalone mode. It was only meant to be a side project that was only put into the game by Treyarch as a hidden Easter egg for completing the main campaign. Nocturne and Totem would quickly become a classic map and led to the creation of the 3 DLC maps. We got Verrückt, Shinonuma, and what would end up being the first map of our beloved Ether story, Der Riese. We also got our first look at the main characters of our story, Nikolai, Dempsey, Takeo, and Richtofen. The thirst for the amazing mode of zombies was insatiable, and it would be 2 years before we got our next installment in Black Ops 1, Kino der Toten. With this being an on-disc map that anyone could get by simply just buying the game and playing it, it exposed the map to millions of new people, and for many people this is where their zombies experience began. Mine partially started here, and I'll explain what I mean later on. With the success of Kino, Treyarch hit another home run with the release of the DLC maps for Black Ops 1, consisting of Ascension, Shangri-La, Call of the Dead, and the final map to end out the DLC season for Black Ops 1, Moon, which left us a brilliant ending to the story up to that point, with Richtofen destroying the Earth by launching missiles from the moon, and it left us on a cliffhanger wondering what happened on Earth. But 2 years would pass until 2012 finally came around with Black Ops 2, and we were introduced to our next installment in one of the most controversial maps released for zombies, Transit. Transit was not well received by the community for a handful of reasons, and I believe this is where zombies began to sort of fall from its peak. But through 2 specific DLC maps, zombies redeemed himself and burrowed deeper into the community's hearts. Transit introduced us to 4 new characters who had not been previously mentioned: Misty, Stuhlinger, Marlton, and Russman. This crew would become known as Victus, and overall they didn't come across as very interesting to many people, hence the disinterest in Transit and the follow-up maps for the Victus crew, Die Rise and Buried. Buried was well received and offered us a supposed ending to the Ether story after helping Maxis defeat Richtofen, and we don't hear from the Victus crew again until Black Ops 4. Until DLC 2 and DLC 4 released, Zombies community didn't seem to be at all interested in Victus. DLC 2 released with what would become a highly requested map to be remastered later on during Black Ops 3, Mob of the Dead. This fan favourite map was set in a real life prison of Alcatraz and contained many Easter eggs, including a very well done main quest that contained a guided audio tour of the prison. Personally, it was and still is one of my all-time favourite maps. And then DLC 4 dropped and brought with it what quickly became known as the best zombies map ever made, Origins. Origins brought us in depth into how our main crew, later known as Primus, came to meet and how they became the most unlikely of friends. Origins contained some of the best gameplay ever seen, like the staffs, the map itself was amazing, and the story it told really drew in the community members, old and new. It advanced the story further than we could have ever imagined and left us craving even more. But it wouldn't be until 2015 we would get our next installment. And this is where things began to turn sour for zombies, and for this part we must turn to Activision and ask them the obvious question. What the fuck were you guys thinking? In the years between Black Ops 2 and 3, we were given Ghosts and Advanced Warfare, both coming with their own variations on zombies, Extinction and Exo-Zombies. This is where Activision's thought process seemed to go completely off the rails. Instead of producing quality content, they saw, in big shiny letters like the magpies they are, DLC packs with zombie maps sell better than multiplayer maps on their own. This is where the downfall of zombies truly started. Extinction released and oh god, it didn't go down well at all. People saw right through it as a mere zombies ripoff. It had no discernible story, uninteresting characters, and overall had very finicky gameplay. Exo-Zombies was to follow, and it already started out badly. In order to even play the mode, you had to buy the first map to even gain access to it. Like, what the fuck? You don't market a game by forcing your customers to buy the very start of the product, give the beginning away for free, then maybe charge for the DLC packs. In case you're not keeping up, Treyarch did this in Black Ops 1 by giving us 2 maps for free with the base game, Kino and 5. Gameplay overall wasn't the best, but it kind of went down well. But 2015 had finally came around and the zombies community was ready for more Treyarch zombies. So basically, after putting up with Activision's shoddy attempts at recreating the brilliance of Treyarch zombies, Black Ops 3 came out with a bang and brought us the continuation of Ether's story, and deepened the tale yet again, showing how Richtofen obtained the summoning key from the Shadows of Evil crew and tried to bring it to Dr. Monty while collecting the souls of the other main characters. To be honest, my zombies journey really began here, and I went backwards playing Black Ops 1 and 2 after I played 3, so the story never really made sense to me. I kinda worked out a bit as I went along, but it's still confusing as fuck. Getting back to Black Ops 3, the DLC maps were instant classics, except, you know, that one. The ending of the story was sort of disappointing and didn't seem like it was a true ending, and this is where the story became even more interesting, as we now knew the fate of the Shadow Man, and with our main characters being sent somewhere by Dr. Monty, who we now know is evil, it left us again on another cliffhanger, but it would be another 3 years until 2018 that we finally see the resolution of the Ether story. The next year though, Infinite Warfare came out and brought with it yet another zombies experience, Infinite Warfare Zombies. At this stage, the zombies community was beginning to seemingly get tired of the zombies experience, and Infinite Warfare didn't help this feeling. The maps given to us seemed to just dip in quality, with each map being less cared about than the last. However, on March 16th, 2017, Treyarch released a standalone surprise DLC pack, which was exclusively zombies maps for Black Ops 3, titled Zombies Chronicles. The passion for zombies that had faded away seemed to come back with a surge, and many of the OG zombie YouTubers jumped back into the scene. However, this would be the end of several of the major YouTubers who played zombies, as their interest had officially died after they completed their playthroughs of the Zombie Chronicles maps. The most iconic of these would have been The Smith Plays and Azura. Since we still had to wait another year before Black Ops 4, there was one more Call of Duty game to come out before we finally got back to Treyarch Zombies: World War II. World War II Zombies released and it was received with mixed feelings. Some people enjoyed it, others found it quite boring and quickly abandoned the game mode, and this was almost the end of the Zombies game mode, but we finally made it to 2018 and the hype was at an all-time high. We were finally getting our last installment in the Treyarch Zombie saga. Black Ops 4 was about to release. However, I finally arrived at the main talking point for the past 12 months. I want to talk about the failure that was the Black Ops 4 launch. Black Ops 4 released on October 12, 2018, 1 month earlier than the traditional November release, and it showed us one thing. The game was not finished. The Zombies mode was not even available, it was unfinished, it was broken when it was released. The maps were unplayable as they continuously crashed. They crashed on very low rounds. Unfortunately, this was only the start of the problems for the Zombies game mode. At launch, we were given 4 maps, more than we had ever been given. All the maps we got were clearly unfinished, and on top of that, the initial game was practically a download exclusive. When you bought the disc, you didn't get anything on the disc. It was a 60+ gigabyte download with a 2 megabyte patch on the disc so you could play the game. Starting with the first map that we got, Voyage of Despair. This map was marketed the most as far as I could see. Voyage was the poster map for the game and the first map in the new Chaos story. Unfortunately, we were given a new story with no real backstory to interest us. The map seemed very janky, it didn't play well, it felt clunky and looked unfinished. It seemed that they had dialed back the graphics to last gen Black Ops 3. Graphical bugs were abundant and overall the map was just shit. The next map in this new Chaos story was IX, or 9. And was arguably the best map in the whole set of maps for Black Ops 4. It went over the best in my opinion. It is my first ever Easter egg completion, solo and co-op with friends. It is by far the best map for practice and has the best gameplay of the 4 core maps we got. This would be the halfway point for the Chaos story. We would not hear from them again until DLC 2, as DLC 1 was a celebrity map. The third map we received on disc was an Ether map, and it was the long requested remaster of Mob of the Dead, titled Blood of the Dead, and saw the return of our Origins era characters in the Alcatraz prison. However, it wasn't a remaster but a remake, with a majority of the map remaining the same, with the addition of a new spawn location and Pack-a-Punch now being on the roof instead of on the Golden Gate Bridge as it had been in Black Ops 2. It also brought us a new version of the Blundergat called the Magma Gat, which fired molten balls of magma from it instead of the Acid Gat's acid darts. Overall, this map was quite good and featured the return of an Origins Richtofen in his Origins outfit at the end of the Easter egg. The fourth and final map available at launch was only available if you bought the Black Ops Pass, and it was a remaster of the map fired from Black Ops 1 called Classified, and featured the Pack-a-Punch in the Area 51 location from Moon back in Black Ops 1. The Easter egg on this map was uncompletable on launch, as it required you to reach around 150 to activate the hidden cutscene, meaning that if there was a super Easter egg in this game, it was officially impossible to complete all the Easter eggs in order to obtain it for at least 3 to 4 months. Unfortunately though, things would only really go downhill from here. We would get 4 DLC maps over the next year, and each one seemed rushed, like they weren't ready to be placed into the game. This became evident when each map was being patched for weeks in order to make them playable. Easter eggs were uncompletable, bugs occurred that would down you if you stood in specific areas, triggering death barriers just like back in Garrett Crovey for Black Ops 3. Issues continued for weeks and months, and even now, graphical issues are still in the game that were meant to be patched out months ago. Finally, we make it to the end of Black Ops 4 DLC maps, and we get Tag der Toten, which to our dismay is just another remake of a classic map called The Dead. The previous map, Alpha Omega, was just a remake of the original Nuketown zombies from Black Ops 2, which actually looked quite good and had a very simple main quest Easter egg. The Ether story came to its conclusion with all members of our crews dying and Eddie and Samantha, the child versions of themselves, walking into a new universe where none of the zombies events had ever happened, and this soured the community further. It seemed like a cop-out ending that was rushed, and this was evidently the case because Treyarch's next game is releasing in 2020 when they announced that they were rebooting the Ether story. The one thing that stood out throughout Black Ops 4's life cycle is that Treyarch clearly did not have the support from Activision that they needed. They seem to have completely washed their hands of Treyarch, and this resulted in Black Ops 4 being a failure from launch till now. However, this doesn't mean we should be sad that it ended so badly. This story for these characters and for us, the players, is over 10 years old, and we have experienced every twist and turn, as confusing as it may be, and we still have some of the awesome memories that we've made from playing this game mode, from pack-a-punching our first gun, to that first Easter egg completion, to our first dog round, or our amazing lucky spin from the box to get the wonder weapon on our first hit. I'm looking at you, Adam. This happens to you all the time. As long as we remember the good times, we can forgive the mess that was Black Ops 4. Treyarch tried their best, but without proper backing, Black Ops 4 didn't get to be as good as it could have been. It was still enjoyable, and it had some fun aspects on the maps, but unfortunately, small amounts of fun didn't make up for the unplayable maps and the constant crashes. Personally, I enjoy Black Ops 4, like, as much as people shit on it and as much as I've practically shit on it here, I did enjoy it. I felt that it was quite fun because this was my first time ever really being up to date with the DLC season and with being able to play everything as it came out. Any other time I would have had to buy the maps, like maybe even a year after they came out. This is the first time I was actually able to experience a game in its whole, and I really enjoyed it. I could see that it was doomed sort of from the start because I did experience a lot of these graphical issues, a lot of these crashes, a lot of the bugs, and I still do to this day. Like, I do get the odd blue screen here and there for PlayStation, but it's nothing compared to what it used to be back all those months ago when the game first came out. The next game is Treyarch, the next game for Treyarch is coming out next year, and hopefully it works well. Given how this went, and they had 3 years to develop this, I don't see how it can be any good next year. I will play it, but I don't know. I think it's going to take a bit of time to adjust to this. They might actually realize that their sales are going to suffer now. After all the crap that happened with Bungie and Activision, like, that really shows how much companies are getting sick of working with them, and I don't blame them, to be honest. I really don't. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like and make sure to subscribe because it really helps me out with people finding my channel for the first time. Hit the bell to be notified if and when I upload. Have a nice day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.